अस्सलाम वालेकुम डियर स्टूडेंट्स। हमने जो लास्ट पासवर्ड्स के ऊपर बात की थी लास्ट लेक्चर्स के अंदर बायोमेट्रिक्स को आज थोड़ा सा उसके अंदर डिटेल पासवर्ड के अंदर भी हम देखते हैं, जिसके अंदर हम आज अपने लेक्चर्स के अंदर देखेंगे कि इंक्रिप्शंस वगैरह एंड हैशिंग्स के ऊपर स्टार्ट करते हैं. Let's talk about on this. In this chapter, we are going to talk about the hashing, beginning with talking about encryption and hashing. First and foremost, the number one rule for encryption and hashing: never ever store passwords in plain text like 1 to 2. That can not be stressed this enough. This is the minimum amount of security that you must offer, that don't store in a plain text. The reason why is if you store password in plain text, let's say in ABC regime, then if that database is ever stored, you compromise user on your site, and all those passwords would be exposed, and those users account could be broken into. But even worse than that, you compromise user on other sites. Because users frequently reuse passwords across multiple sites, and if your database gets hacked, and then those passwords that are stored in it might work on other sites around the internet, including sites that I run. So please, for your own benefits and for mine, it's never store password in plain text. It's clear already in previous lecture. Instead, what you want to do in encrypt side, now we say encryption use casually, but we really means in hashing them. It's a one-way hashing algorithm that we are going to use, and one way means it's non-reversible even by us. We could not get back the original password if we wanted to in hashing. So if we can't decrypt the password, that's how can we match it. Uh, the same input plus the same hashing algorithm that always equal the same output. So when the user first creates an account and provide a password, their actual password will go through that hashing algorithm and then be stored in the database. Every time a user come back and tries a new password on the website to log in, and we are going to talk that same password, run it through the same hashing algorithm, and we could always get the same output. The result could still match. This allows us to have passwords that are transferred and encrypted but cannot be decrypted. Keep in mind, uh, let me explain a bit more about how it's not reversible. Imagine that you have a book, right? And you are going to take the text of that book and sort all of the words in the alphabetical order. After that, now if we have another version of that book and we want to compare and see if it's the same, we can apply this same transformation. We can store all the word in the alphabetical order, and the same text will always have the same result. After that, if you add a word or take away a word, it will be a difficult result. However, that does not mean that we can transfer it backward. We cannot take the result and recover the text because information was lost in the process. And in this case, the original position of all the words in the text will still know what the word knows, and we just don't know where they go. That's essentially how hashes work. They take a lot of information and they transform it, and they lose same of the information in the process. And so that we cannot go backward, there are a number of different hashing algorithms that you might consider using for passwords. For many years, MD5 was go to the choice, one of the best one, MD5, and that was the hashing algorithm that the people used and they stored in their database. That's not one of you want to use anymore. It's being considered unsafe for many years. Before it was best one because it's not as strong, and hackers had figured out way around it. As such a one sha we कहते हैं has been another popular hashing algorithm that's too in no longer considered safe as computers have gotten faster and more powerful. It's just simply not strong enough, and security researchers have found some flaws in it as well. There's also a SHA-2, which can be known as SHA-255 bits and 512 two algorithm, and it's still but I am there is another better one option, and that is the blowfish, which is also sometimes called bcrypt. Blowfish Briquette has a couple of nice features. For one thing, it's free, first of all, and second, it is a one-way algorithm, and third, it can be upgraded, strengthened, and while still using Blowfish. Whereas MD5 had just a single way of using it, and it had a single strength to it. Blowfish can actually be upgraded, and in the future, if we need something stronger, so as a computer gets faster, it's a little more future proof. We will get an idea of why having a slow algorithm in a good idea in the next movie. But for now, just know the Blowfish is a good choice, and it's one of the for you to choose for the hashing password. So here we talk about the hash algorithm for passwords. उसके अंदर हमने MD5 और SHA-1 की बात की कि ये प्रीवियस वन थे। MD5 वन ऑफ द फेवरेट होता था, बहुत फेमस होता था, लेकिन उसके बाद में उसके ऊपर अटैकर्स ने इसको हैक करना शुरू कर दिया और MD5 को एलिमिनेट करके SHA-1 लॉन्च किया गया। SHA-1 के अंदर भी इसी तरह हैकर्स ने इसके एल्गोरिथम को अंडरस्टैंड किया और उसके ऊपर अटैक स्टार्ट कर दी। फिर हमने SHA-1 को भी गुड बाय किया। फिर SHA-2 आया जिसके अंदर टू बिट्स आए, 256 एंड 512, ठीक है। और ये वन ऑफ द फेमस अभी भी ये यूज होते हैं, बट लेकिन वन ऑफ द बेस्ट वन करंटली जो है वो ब्लोफिश चल रहा है इन मार्केट, जिसको हम यूज कर रहे हैं। तो हैशिंग होता क्या है इन समराइज्ड, इफ वी वांट टू समराइज दिस इन some statements कि वी हैव सम टेक्स्ट जो हम सेंड करते हैं। एग्जांपल के तौर पे आई प्रिपेयर अ पेपर फॉर योर क्लास, राइट, and I'm sending this paper to the higher management email address. During that process, while I'm sending email from my computer to the concerned one email ID, there is a chance of third one person that can attack in between A and B ends. मेरे कंप्यूटर और जो कंसर्न वन कंप्यूटर है उसके दरमियान अटैकर्स की पॉसिबिलिटीज है, और उस पॉसिबिलिटीज के अंदर कोई भी अटैकर्स उसको इन होके मेरे जो पेपर डिजाइन किया हुआ जो भी उसके अंदर क्वेश्चन है, दे कैन रीड इट, राइट, एंड कैन चेंज इट हैशिंग को बनाया इसी वजह से गया है कि ये आपके जो टेक्स्ट था, एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे मैंने एक पेपर बनाया और उसके अंदर मैंने कुछ क्वेश्चंस लिखे, 1 2 3 4 5 तक क्वेश्चन मैंने डिजाइन किए, और जो थर्ड वन पार्टी थी उसने मेरे पेपर को गेट किया और उसके अंदर कुछ चेंजिंग कर दी। ठीक है, चेंजिंग क्या की कि उसने 3 क्वेश्चन कर दिए, 2 को एलिमिनेट कर दिया। जब मेरे थर्ड वन के पास वो पेपर पहुंचा, सॉरी बी एंड के पास पहुंचा जो कंसर्न वन थे, और उनके पास उसने वो बीच के अंदर किसी तरह एनक्रिप्टेड उसको ओपन किया और उसके अंदर चेंजिंग करके उसने सेंड कर दी। जब उन्होंने सेंड कर दिया उस पेपर को बी एंड के ऊपर, जो 5 क्वेश्चन एक्चुअल के अंदर थे वो 3 क्वेश्चन के अंदर हो गए, तो इंटीग्रिटी उसकी कंप्रोमाइज होगी। ठीक है, जो उसकी एक्चुअल हालत थी वो कंप्रोमाइज होगी, 5 क्वेश्चन 3 क्वेश्चन के अंदर कन्वर्ट हो गए। तो इसका क्या किया जाता है, इसको किया ये जाता है, कुछ आपके पास ऑनलाइन यहाँ पे अवेलेबल होते हैं हैशिंग एल्गोरिदम, जो आपको कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं, हैश क्रिएट कर देते हैं, एक बहुत लंबा सा एक पासवर्ड सा जनरेट कर देते हैं। ठीक है, हैशिंग उसके अंदर भी यूज होता है, यहाँ पे हैशिंग फॉर पासवर्ड की बात भी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हैशिंग वहाँ पे भी यूज की जाती है। मैंने क्या करना था, मैंने अपने कंप्यूटर पे वो पेपर बनाया, राइट, विद 5 क्वेश्चंस, और उसको मैंने उसके अंदर सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर एंड कर दिया, उसको कहा कि मुझे इसका हैश क्रिएट कर दो, राइट। जब वो मैंने हैश क्रिएट कर दिया उसने कैलकुलेटर ने, तो वो मैंने अपने पास सेव कर लिया, राइट, और मैंने उसको ईमेल को सेंड कर दिया। ठीक है, तो जो सेकंड वन था, जो हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट था कंप्यूटर साइंस के एग्जांपल के तौर पे, ठीक है, जिनके पास मैंने पेपर सेंड किया, उनको मैंने वो हैश कोड व्हाट्सएप के ऊपर या किसी एसएमएस के ऊपर मैंने उनको सेंड कर दिया। वो क्या करेंगे, जब उनके पास ईमेल रिसीव होगा, तो वो उस ईमेल के ऊपर उसको देखेंगे कि जी ये मेरी साइड से आया है पेपर, तो वो उसको इसी तरह डाउनलोड करेंगे और उसको किसी भी उसमें मैं बता दूंगा कि मैंने MD5 हैशिंग यूज किया, मैंने ऐसे SHA-1 यूज किया है, SHA-2 256 यूज की है, जिससे मैंने इंक्रिप्ट किया है, वहीं से आपने इसको डालना है। ठीक है, वो क्या करेंगे, उसी पेपर को दोबारा डाउनलोड किया उन्होंने और उसको उसके अंदर डाला, और जो मैंने पासवर्ड दिया था, जो उनको हैश मैंने वो आईडी दी थी, वो उसको इंटर करेंगे और उसको मैच करेंगे, उसको उसको कन्वर्ट करेंगे। ठीक है, मतलब उसको उसको ऊपर अप्लाई करेंगे, मैचिंग करेंगे उसके ऊपर। जब उसको मैच करेंगे तो वो देखेंगे कि जो जो मैंने हैश सेंड किया था, क्या वो जो जनरेट हैश है उससे मैच करता है कि नहीं करता। तो अगर वो हैश कोड उस मेरे वाले प्रोवाइडेड से मैच कर जाता है, तो वो बताएगा कि इसके अंदर कोई चेंजिंग नहीं है। तो 5 क्वेश्चन वो आपको सेंड किए गए हैं, उनकी इंटीग्रिटी वैसी की वैसी है। अगर उसके अंदर कोई चेंजिंग की गई थर्ड वन ने, तो वो बताएंगे कि जी आपके पास जो पेपर, मेरे पास जो रिसीव हुआ है पेपर, और जो आपने मुझे हैश कोड सेंड किया है, वो मैच नहीं करता व्हाइल आई एम डाउनलोडिंग। तो मे बी उसमें डाउनलोडिंग के अंदर कोई प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है। ऐसे ही अगर आप किसी वेबसाइट के ऊपर जाएं, तो वो आपको एक हैश कोड देते हैं उस सॉफ्टवेयर के डाउनलोड का। ठीक है, तो आप जब आप पूरा डाउनलोड कर लें, तो आप उसकी हैशिंग चेक कर सकते हैं कि इसके अंदर कुछ डाउनलोडिंग के दौरान मिसिंग तो नहीं हुई। जिसमें मैंने बुक की एग्जांपल दी कि आप तमाम बुक्स के उसको लें और उसको उधर एग्जांपल के तौर पे उसमें कोई डिजिट्स मिस कर दें और फिर उसको मिस मैच करें, तो वो मैच ही नहीं करेंगे, जाहिर सी बात, आपके उसके अंदर कुछ चेंजिंग कर दी है, तो वो चेंज उसको एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा। तो ये थी हमारी हैशिंग। नाउ मूव ऑन टू ब्रूट फोर्स अटैक क्या होते हैं। In order to talk about password strength and why you could choose certain algorithm over others, we first need to talk about some of the attacks on passwords. We are going to start by taking about brute force attack. That's one of the famous attacks in market. Brute force attacks are when software systematically generate rapid fire input trying, keep in mind, to guess the correct value of a password that you signed. It's a trial and error approach. It's a trial and error. Imagine that you have a 3-wheel combination lock. ठीक है. Imagine करें like a small luggage lock or the lock that might be a briefcase. You can see in your future. We all know that you have had enough time. You could eventually figure out what the combination is of the lock, and you would do it by trial and errors. Okay? And you might start doing it systematically. You should start with 000, then go to 001, 002, so on. You make lots of combination until you find the get to the triple line to the and you can know that that's when you have tried all those combination. You keep it in mind one of them has to be the right combination, and most of them are flaws. Okay? That's a brute force approach. Now, the case of the password, we are not just going to be use the numbers zeros through nines. We are using letter numbers and simple example. Let's see. We added. So it might be A, B, A, C, and so on, right? Any combination of alphabets until it strives. Every single one combination, we know it can be done, but we all know that it is little time consuming process. The time required depend on the size of the password that we applied and the such key space or the number of the possible combinations that we can try on that we have out those three ways. Uh, let's look at such key space a little more closely. The key space is the number of possibilities. The key space is the number of possibilities that would be in each of the positions, rise to the power of the number of portions there are. So in our example, we had a wheel in previous example that had a number zeros to 10 possible combinations. And the key length is the fact that we have three wheels. So that's going to be 10 times 10 times, right? 10 times. Each one of the wheels has 10 possibilities. Okay, or 10 to third power, so that's 1,000 total combinations. We can try a 1,000 combination on the wheel for required password. So we know that somewhere in we is going to find the right combination. It's important to think about it as this formula, because then we can start to compare the strength of the different passwords. For example, we can modify the number of possibilities. For example, we modify more possibilities going to increase the key space. And so if we just have the number zeros through nines, then there's 10 possibility, simple. And so that three V's that tend to the third power of 100, and but that we have a combination like the kind I use have on the lock in high level, where it had a dial or there were 40 possibilities, zeros to 39. Now it's 40 to the third power of 64,030, right? And if you are using a password, we have be using a letter. There are uppercase, lowercase, number symbols like let's say convertibility that we have 72 characters to choose from. With just a three character password, it's BS70 to the power of 3. That's more than 373 different possibility to tries. Or in addition to the number of possibilities, for each one of these possibilities, there are also the length of the password. And a longer key length increase the key space. And so if we have one of that three characters and each one has 10 possibilities, then there is a thousands If we had a fourth wheel to our combination lock, then it's one 10,000s, a 50 wheel combination are almost one lakh. Now that the key length provide exponential increase, you can see here. Let's consider the number of different lockers and ask ourselves which lock is going to be the more difficult to brute force attack. So the first lock we have got a simple luggage lock, right? So there are three wheel for in combination. You can see mostly have the three wheel cover on the luggage. So we have got a slightly the four wheel and then a professional version, right? That has five different V's. It takes five number to be open the combination for this lock. And then we have got two lock that have the dial on them. The first one has a number and then some selective letters also available here. And there are 20 different possibilities total on the face of it. And we have to rotate it three times to open the lock. And they have got the kind like I used to have or a high school locker that has 40 possibilities and it also take three turns of the knob. And which one of you think pause the movie if you want to take a moment to the consider it. I will walk through them. The first lock we already have seen is going to be 10 to the third power. Already discussed, there are the 100 possibilities. Adding that fourth wheel takes its 10,000s, right? And adding a fifth wheel takes is almost 1 lakh possibilities. And how do those compare against the dialogue? The first example we had 20 possibilities and three turns of the dial, right? And that 20 to the third power or 8,000s. And are you surprised? It's quite a bit stronger than the simple luggage lock, but it's not as strong as the lock that has four wheel on it. Finally, we have got that the conventional dial lock that has 40 numbers in phase and three turns on of the dials. So 40 raised to the third power is 64,000, right? Hopefully what you are beginning to in that variant of the characteristics that are used in a password in as important part of making it difficult to be the brute force that password. More character variety in a password is a stronger but even more important than in a strength. तो जितनी आपकी स्ट्रेंथ ज़्यादा होगी उसके अंदर उतनी आपके लिए इम्पोर्टेंट उसको उसके लिए जो ब्रूट फोर्स होगा वो फेलियर ज़्यादा होगा राइट दैट्स व्हाई एग्जिस्टिंग ऑल email providers Gmail Hotmail Yahoo even many of the good companies also engage us to mention the password in the combinations of lower letter, upper letter, hash, alphabets. They enforce us, ठीक है जितनी भी अच्छी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं कंपनीज हैं अगर वहाँ पे आपको लॉगिन बनाते हैं वो हमें इन्फोर्स करते हैं कि आपका जो पासवर्ड होगा उसके अंदर एक अपर लोअर एक है अल्फाबेट्स भी हों उसके अंदर हैश की एट द रेट हैश कुछ भी ऐसा डिजिट्स यूज करें ठीक है सो वी टॉक अबाउट हेयर कि ब्रूट फोर्स क्या होती है उसके ऊपर हमने अभी बात की है इन डिटेल और फर्दर जो है हम डिक्शनरी अटैक्स के ऊपर बात कर देंगे डिक्शनरी अटैक्स क्या होते हैं Now that we know about brute force attack, we already talk about variations called dictionary attacks in previous lecture. Let's start with with a question which password would be harder to crack, right? Using a brute force attack. This one or this one. Both these passwords are the same and they have the same character in them, just scrambled around. You can, and you are doing a typical brute force attack, they would be considered of equal strength. And they have the same key space to search through. And we don't know whether the search is going to begin as the letter A or at the letter Z, but an attack to find these passwords could generally benefit by using a dictionary. And that's what a dictionary attack is. A dictionary attack is a brute force attack that prioritize word in a dictionary, right? That over all those random combination available in dictionary, uh, and it's based mainly on that use perform common words for their password. So because hackers know this, hackers priority the dictionary word first, right? They have to put some priority. It's the same total time to search the full key space, but it greatly decreases the actual time. And let's start with the literally combinations first, and then we can try the unlikely one later on. Next slide. So what is a dictionary? A question. We obviously it's words that are in the regular dictionary. So user might use password and dragons, and so they might use patterns like 1 2 3 4 7 8 or quarterly, and um, um, characters all in the row on a quadri keyboard, or they might use common passwords. Let me in, trust no one, and CC170, one of the most famous common passwords that are using. If that's not instantly recognized, it's the number on the Starship Enterprise or Star Talk. So they have this massive dictionary. Of all these passwords that have been found uh, around the world in different databases, such as subsequential E for the letter three, okay, and four for the letter zero, zero for the letter zero, right? And finding a dictionary can be just about analyzing, because it can be made up uh, of a dictionary of a password accumulated and from the previous hackers. So when hackers go and they crack into a computer and they steal the database with all the password that are in there. They take all the password and they add them to their dictionary. So they have this massive dictionary already in database of all these password that has been found. They had in the history in different databases they made. Now even through those are the most common uncommon password that look like garbage, the fact that they have not been used ever on another website somewhere else on the internet, does make them more likely and a super random combination available on the net. So when you think about dictionary attacks, don't limit your thinking to only the kinds of words that are in the webstar dictionary. It's really can be a wide variety of the things. It's essentially just combination of the characters, and that more likely than a random set And while it does nothing to decrease the total time it takes to find a password, it does greatly decrease the actual time. If your assigned password matches with the dictionary, so to keep in mind, make your own password with the most combinations you can select while generating a password. Don't give the opportunity to the hacker; they can hack your password easily. तो ये आज के हमारे लेक्चर के अंदर हमने इंक्रिप्शन एंड हैशिंग को देखा, ब्रूट फोर्स अटैक्स को देखा और डिक्शनरी अटैक्स को हमने देखा. थैंक यू फॉर योर वैल्यू टाइम.